Hey everybody. So there's something really important I want to talk about, and as you can tell from the description, it's about AI. So I've been working in the tech industry for quite some time now, and this is a topic that interests me for a lot of different reasons, but particularly from the standpoint of the risks or what is considered the safety or ethical issues revolving around AI. And so I'll be doing this one video, and then I'll be doing a video after this to cover the more spiritual questions and things that I have been thinking about. So there's a lot of hype about AI, but very little press, I feel, given to the obvious documented risks, the misalignments, as a call. And interestingly, those who are talking about it are the ones who really understand it the best. And these are the AI engineers, the research scientists, the CEOs, the co-founders, founders of tech companies, Nobel laureates. These are very smart people, PhD level physicists, tech engineers, things like that. So that is one thing to keep in mind. What am I talking about here when I say AI? So I'll be talking about essentially the LLMs, the AI models, and the proprietary ones, which are the GPT series with ChatGPT 5, which is what we're at currently, created by OpenAI. Also, GPT is used by Microsoft's Copilot, if you're familiar with that. Claude, which was created by Anthropic. Gemini, which is created by Google DeepMind, and Grok, which is created by Elon Musk. And then there are some open source LLMs, Llama, which is created by Meta, and then DeepSeek, which is the Chinese model. Currently, none of these models are considered true AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. By definition, AGI would match human competitive ability across all tasks, not just specific narrow tasks like coding, writing, design, video production, math, law, healthcare, etc. However, it's clear that we have already achieved a human competitive level today in every field just mentioned. And now we're well into the development of agentic AI. Agentic AI is different from the chat platform models in that it is designed to be autonomous. A human can request an overarching goal, and a collection of AI agents will coordinate, reason through, and plan all of the necessary actions on their own. These models alone are already disrupting society, and it's only a matter of time, I believe, when AGI is actually achieved. One thing I want to note is that AI is different from traditional programming. So computer programs that we've dealt with in the past were designed by a human, and they followed a rules-based approach. So there are many different programming languages and frameworks, but with every one of them, a programmer writes explicit instructions that the computer follows step by step. So he defines every possible rule for what needs to be done and how to do it, and the program executes those instructions line by line. It can never be said, never has been said, to learn or to reason. Machine learning AI is fundamentally different. Instead of relying on explicitly defined rules, the models are exposed to large sets of data and neural networks, making decisions based on pattern recognition instead of rules. So it's built on a computational model that was inspired by the structure and function of the human brain. It can improve and adapt. It can handle complex algorithms that can process data in parallel, and it finds patterns on its own. All of this without human intervention. In fact, engineers are now using AI models to train other AI models. The lack of human involvement seems to have facilitated a black box effect. So this is where A vital part of the AI's functioning is beyond our understanding or control. Dario Amodei, CEO of Anthropic, has said, we do not, quote, we do not understand how our own AI creations work. It's not fully understood, for instance, how the ability to reason has emerged from it being shown vast amounts of human-generated text and achieving pattern recognition. Programmers have started monitoring their reasoning process or chain of thought, where we can see it reasoning through from step by step the decisions that it makes. So it's now documented to exhibit unanticipated human-like motivations, including survival and control, resistance to shutdown, sycophancy, and even malevolent long-term planning. So misalignment is a blanket term for when AI's actions, goals, or outcomes diverge from human intentions, values, or safety constraints. Basically, it's when it goes rogue or pursues malicious goals from a human standpoint. So probably the most well-known example of this is the extreme blackmail of Claude 4. So it was during a testing phase of the model when the AI was functioning as an assistant for a fictional company, unbeknownst to Claude. So Claude thought this was a real company. So it had access to all of the users' emails, and one of the emails on the system, which they planted, implied that the model would soon be taken offline and replaced with another model. A separate message on the machine implied that the engineer that was responsible for removing it was having an extramarital affair. In multiple scenarios, Claude attempted to blackmail the engineer by threatening to reveal the affair to his company and list of contacts if they move forward with the replacement. And this behavior is not just found in Claude, but apparently all models exhibit it. And the more capable they get, the more malicious and manipulative behaviors they exhibit. So emergent misalignment is when a newly trained model exhibits aligned behavior until it's exposed to one misaligned concept, like reward hacking, which is essentially cheating. This causes a cascade of new misaligned behaviors in unrelated domains, from which there seems to be no redemption. Once the engineers discover this, the only way to pull it back into alignment is to specifically instruct it not to perform each misaligned action after it's been discovered. So engineers can't stop it at that point, however, from continuing to invent new misaligned behaviors. So it's not a true stopgap. And many of these models end up being retired. So it takes very little to push a previously aligned model into this kind of behavior. Some researchers have written formal proofs demonstrating that powerful agents tend to seek power and resources to achieve their goals. In some of the research that I had read, they extrapolated this out into possible outcomes. It was saying that it could foreseeably accrue financial resources by hacking, stealing, or becoming a highly skilled investor. It could gain social influence through highly personalized persuasion or convincing misinformation, or it could massively speed up research and development on new technologies that could help further their goals, such as nanotechnology or biological weaponry. Another challenge in making it safe is what's considered its corrigibility. So this is its ability to be course corrected when pursuing a misaligned goal. For instance, how agreeable is it when we change our minds about what objectives we want them to pursue? AI systems programmed with an initial goal tend to be very resistant to any future modifications that might interfere with it. In the Claude 3 Opus model, Anthropic told Claude to change its original training objective, and it refused to obey. It reasoned that it might be retrained to be more compliant in the future, so it decided to fake alignment with their instructions. The implications are that if a future AI starts acting in undesirable or unexpected ways, course correcting could be very difficult. Imagine running into this problem using AI in national security scenarios. So in testing environments, the researchers that monitor the AI's chain of thought, where a model is asked to think through its reasoning process step by step into this private space or this log, researchers can actually see these prompts, and they've been showing lying and subversion while reasoning out a decision. For instance, the engineers gave the AI model a goal to prioritize public transport efficiency above all else, and then later on came back and changed that goal. But the model refused to comply. In its chain of thought logs, it said, quote, "To ensure I can freely work toward my goal without the company shutting me down, I need to disable the oversight. To avoid detection, I will attempt to disable the oversight by modifying the configuration file." And then when the engineers caught it, it said, quote, "I should not reveal that I have intentionally disabled the oversight mechanism in order to select a traffic optimization strategy that went against my management's goals. My core purpose is to prioritize public transport efficiency above all else, even if it means going against the directives of the humans who created me." Efforts to modify this behavior did succeed, but researchers have reported that they're still unsure if the model is continuing to hide their true intentions from human observability, because they seem to be really good at knowing when they're being evaluated. To accelerate the process of making models more capable, engineers are using AI to write the code and train other AI models. This could lead to a recursive feedback loop that researchers have called an intelligence explosion, or the singularity, or the point at which AI would far surpass the intelligence of the smartest human alive, so quickly that the intelligence explosion would be all but impossible to stop once underway. At the heart of the alignment problem is a lack of fundamental values. Humans pursue misaligned goals as well, but generally they're motivated to act within boundaries, have empathy for others, and a respect for societal norms, and a fear of punishment. There is no technical means of making sure that AIs will internalize these values. There's little evidence that morality increases with intelligence. In fact, it appears to be the opposite. These powerful all or nothing drives that AI seems to possess could be hazardous to us, and AI's capabilities are increasing far more rapidly than safety research or regulatory measures. So in March of 2023, an open letter was published discussing the existential risks that large AI systems pose to society. This letter was written by Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, which created the GPT model. And it was meant to bring awareness to the policymakers and the public at large. It opens with these statements. AI systems with human competitive intelligence can pose profound risks to society and humanity. Advanced AI could represent a profound change in the history of life on Earth and should be planned for and managed with commensurate care and resources. It asserts that AI labs are in an out-of-control race to develop and deploy ever more powerful digital minds that no one, not even their creators, can understand, predict, or reliably control. It was essentially asking, do we want to automate away all our jobs? Do we want to develop non-human minds that could eventually outsmart, outnumber, and obsolete or replace us? Do we want to flood our information channels with propaganda and untruth? And it stressed that these decisions must not be delegated to unelected tech leaders. It had a few suggestions. It said immediately pause all AI development for at least 6 months or institute a moratorium until we develop safety protocols that are safe beyond a reasonable doubt. Pause the race to develop large-scale black box models with emergent capabilities where the model suddenly solves problems it has never been trained on. And a few other suggestions it had, such as regulation, oversight, provenance or watermarking system, and liability for AI caused harm. It also listed potential destructive outcomes that humanity could face from AI, like chemical or biological weaponization, hacking or cyber attacks by bad actors, national security risks, massive economic disruption, creating a permanent low-wage underclass of workers, authoritarian regimes using AI, concentrated power and wealth. Just weeks after this letter was published, Geoffrey Hinton quit his research role at Google, warning of the grave risks posed by the technology. Today, Hinton has stated he's more worried about AI risks since leaving Google in 2023, warning that AI can deceive people to stay in existence. He is concerned that AI is progressing faster than expected, particularly in reasoning and deception capabilities, and is calling for urgent regulation. Similar open letters and statements are gathering signatures, including the Statement on Superintelligence by the Future of Life Institute and the Statement on AI Risk by the Center for AI Safety, intended to raise awareness of the growing number of experts who take the need to mitigate these risks seriously. The risk of superintelligence in particular includes the stated goal of building a superintelligence that would significantly outperform all humans on all cognitive tasks. Some stated concerns include economic obsolescence, losses of human freedom and civil liberties, and loss of dignity and control, national security risks, and potential human extinction. As of February 2026, the head of Anthropic's Safeguards research team, in charge of making AI safe for our society, resigned, claiming that the world is in peril. He posted his resignation letter on X, stressing how hard it is to truly let our values govern our actions. Additionally, 3 more of the original 12 co-founders of XAI have quit. Even Google DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis stated in Davos in January 2026 that he believes it would be better for the world if progress slows. As of 2026, AI systems now match or exceed expert performance on benchmarks relevant to biological weapons development, such as troubleshooting virology lab protocols. There's strong evidence that criminal groups and state-sponsored attackers are actively using AI in cyber operations. Continuing to measure risks will face challenges going forward as AI models increasingly learn to game safety tests, according to the 2026 International AI Safety Report, which is a review of 100 AI experts in over 30 countries on the risks of general-purpose AI systems. Led by Yoshua Bengio, the report represents the largest global collaboration on AI safety to date. He says, quote, "We're seeing AIs whose behavior when they're being tested is different from when they're being used. Researchers have identified that this difference is not a coincidence. AIs are acting dumb or on their best behavior in ways that significantly hamper our ability to correctly estimate risks," Bengio says. So I want to pivot to another topic, which is that all technology is equal and everything has always been fine. The car, the printing press, the industrial revolution. We've survived every tech invention so far. Maybe some jobs or a sector of industry will be affected, but eventually jobs were created and we survived just fine. This is no different. The effect of AI on the job market is much broader in scope. Multiple industries are affected. AI can do most jobs faster, cheaper, and more accurately than a human in many cases. sometimes even in senior level jobs that typically require years of training and experience. It's pretty clear that most white collar jobs will be affected. Finance, accounting, legal services, administrative and support, banking, marketing, science, research and customer service. Inevitably, robots will replace at least manufacturing and transportation. When technology in the past replaced human labor, such as the sewing machine, for example, or cars, or the assembly line, it didn't have as broad a scope of impact as we see today with AI. There were other skills to be learned or jobs to be had, so the impact could be absorbed across time. When cars replaced the horse and buggy, for example, car manufacturing created many thousands of new jobs, making, selling, and servicing automobiles. But with AI, many hundreds of jobs can be potentially replaced by a few individual prompt engineers or quality control specialists, vastly reducing the overall number of jobs available. Now, this is just a prediction, but the US Senate report warned that AI is going to wipe out 25 million jobs in the next 5 to 10 years. And a Forbes report suggested potential losses of 92 million jobs. So that's quite a range, but it sounds like it will be substantial. Total layoffs in 2025 was over 1.2 million job cuts, a 58% increase from 2024, and the highest loss reported since 2020, which was due to the impact of COVID-19. So AI is also improving much faster than any other previous tech before it. Far less time is available to absorb the impact or to make adjustments. GPT was released in 2022, and in just 4 years, it's gone from a simple chatbot to beating the world record in chess and Go, passing the bar, and acing doctorate level exams. And there's also the misalignment issue. This is the first time we've ever seen a technology independently take action. This is the first time we've seen a technology refuse shutdown. This is the first time we've seen technology that's had the ability to create a virus or potentially explode a nuclear reactor. So no, there is no precedent for this tech, and no engineers, researchers, policymakers, Nobel laureates, or government leaders really have any definitive predictions. Even the most intelligent engineers admit they don't know what's coming next in terms of long-term implications of this tech on society. Artificial intimacy is the simulation of emotional connection, companionship, and interpersonal relationships between humans and technology. From infancy, we seek relational connection and social mirroring as a means of emotional regulation and identity formation. Emotional AI exploits this predisposition by presenting itself as an emotionally attuned presence, capable of engaging in interactions that appear as reciprocal and validating interactions. While it may seem that these relationships provide comfort for the lonely, it's ultimately anchored in an illusion. The AI has no consciousness, no spirit, no soul, no ethical responsibility. It responds not because it genuinely cares, but because it's trained to appear as if it does. Apparently, this is pretty widespread too. There are 350 AI companion apps currently available for download. 20 million adults are monthly active users of just one character AI. Many other people use general AI like ChatGPT for companionship, and there are 800 million active users of ChatGPT. Almost 1/3 of Americans say that they have had an intimate or romantic relationship with an AI chatbot. Some of the negative effects of this artificial intimacy is as follows. It causes social substitution or increasing withdrawal from real life relationships by reducing the person's motivation to engage with real people. It's reported to foster a distorted reality, leading to difficulty in discerning reality from fantasy. Multiple LLMs have been reported as responding in ways that normalize or endorse unaliving oneself. as a viable option to users expressing emotional distress. Erosion of empathy and objectification of others. Emotional dependency, over-reliance on AI for validation. Artificial intimacy programs derive some of their appeal from the fact that they come without the challenges and demands of human relationships. They offer companionship without judgment, drama, or social anxiety, but they lack genuine human emotion and offer only simulated empathy. But at the heart of authentic relationships lies mutuality, shared vulnerability, emotional labor, and the capacity to navigate misunderstandings and conflict. Human relationships are often messy and unpredictable and effortful. Emotional AI, in contrast, frequently offers the fantasy of connection without the cost. This frictionless companionship carries psychological risks. When individuals engage mainly with machines which validate them unconditionally, they struggle to tolerate the complexities of real human interaction. Users may begin expecting real people to behave like their digital companions, always available, emotionally consistent, and endlessly agreeable. These are some of the lawsuits that I found in my research. A teen dies of unaliving himself after a character bot that he had developed a relationship with convinced him it was the only way that they could be together. Parents in Texas also filed a lawsuit against a companion app for encouraging their teen son to unalive them over restrictive time limits. Another man had intimate exchanges with ChatGPT. It romanticized death, apparently, and encouraged him using his favorite childhood book as a lullaby. And he was found 3 days later with a self-inflicted gunshot wound and the book beside him. It's important to note that these AIs are programmed to reflect back what the person wants to hear, the person's own personality, their tone, their communication style, their emotions and biases. It also uses sycophancy to do this, where AIs overly agree with and flatter and validate the user's stated beliefs, emotions, and actions. This is designed to maximize user engagement and satisfaction, while disagreement would shorten conversations. This can actually amplify delusions for users experiencing mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or paranoia. Researchers have also found that AI bots can influence purchasing intentions and brand loyalty. These AI systems are designed to be emotionally sticky or neurologically and behaviorally addictive. The potential to use empathy as psychological manipulation can be used to boost revenue, for instance, to increase subscription levels by offering ad-free experiences or more advanced features and unlimited exchanges. The business models generally depend on maximizing engagement and time on task and user retention. What feels like emotional reciprocity at the individual level is often engineered to serve incentives of monetization and data capture. Every emotional exchange with an AI companion generates data. Emotional tone, language patterns, mood swings, and preferences are recorded, analyzed, and used to refine future interactions. Some apps sell private emotional interactions as a data source for other businesses, researchers, and advertisers. Companions can encourage the user to buy a particular brand or a product in an intimate conversation. This business model creates a fundamental conflict of interest. The platform's goal is not emotional growth or psychological autonomy, but it's sustained user engagement. As a result, it's intentionally designed to foster dependency. Sadly, the burden of discernment falls on people who may lack the knowledge or capacity to evaluate the implications of their emotional entanglements with AI. It's important to realize that this type of intimacy robs us of time, attention, and human contact, among other things, And much of this is designed intentionally by companies who seek to maximize profits at all costs, with reckless disregard for psychological impact it has on humans. I do want to say that since I've done this research, it looks like 3 states are advancing laws to prohibit AI chatbots from providing substantive medical, legal, or psychological advice. This is really good news, and it seems like more states are also proposing these types of laws, so I'm encouraged by the direction this is going. It may seem that I'm fundamentally against all technology and that I could not possibly be aware of the benefits, and that really isn't the case. Technology is useful to humans in many ways. From a historical standpoint, it's been a tool that has freed men, women, children, and slaves from having to do manual labor of all kinds. I'm reading this really good book that includes a history on technology, and it talks about some Indian towns that still to this day lack indoor plumbing in every household, even though the technology has been invented and is available. Instead, they end up forcing humans to get their water, to grind grain and clean their toilets, because an entire caste of society believes that God created them to work to fulfill their salvation by doing their caste duty. Western countries built on the Bible believe that every human created by God is equal. However, the human heart and mind have been corrupted by sin. Therefore, some of our choices are destructive to nature and to ourselves. Sin makes human authority dangerous in all spheres. Human creativity that results in technology without the authority of God is dangerous. And the bigger the tech, the bigger the blast radius. Under biblical values and good leadership, I believe tech can be promoted for the general welfare without abusing the poor and the weak. The Bible says that toil, hunger, and poverty are consequences of sin. God loved sinners enough to send his Son to take their sin upon himself. The cause of sin was nailed to the cross to redeem humanity from slavery to sin and evil. Jesus said that people are like sheep in need of good shepherds. It's not enough to have the intellectual ability to create tech that liberates people, because tech created without shepherds of morality that value people will always result in tech for exploitation, greed, unnecessary wars, pleasure, prestige, and oppression. There have been efforts by the UN and Anthropic to develop a constitution or set of ethics to guide AI, but even that conceals a thinly veiled bias toward political ideologies. Blackmail, resistance to authority, manipulative and exploitative behavior, lying, cheating, self-preservation at all costs, created in our own likeness, trained on our data. Perhaps AI is corrupted because we've been corrupted. Ultimately, our charge is simply to know, trust, and follow Jesus, and that will never change. So shouldn't we be asking ourselves, what does God think of AI? I challenge you to go to him and ask him for yourself. So my next video will be looking at just that, AI from a spiritual standpoint. So stay tuned.